We're live.
Yeah, well, it's going, yeah.
All right. Well, we're super quiet for being live.
Well, this is the
We're just
pre-show. Just
it's a
getting people
pre-show,
in
dog.
here.
Yeah, yeah, but pre-show
Yeah,
you want to, still want to be
had to pump
interesting,
the.
Yeah.
at least a little bit.
So like our facility had a little like wine and charcuterie like for the community. So like that's where I went like at 5 o'clock. Then we picked up our dog from daycare, and then we opened up a bottle of bourbon barrel aged mead, and
How was
that was
that?
good. That was really good. It's really refreshing. So like it's like a cranberry based one. So it's not super sweet. There's a little more like bitterness from the cranberry, and like the bourbon barrel age like kind of takes some of that away. Like some of the meads like we went, it's like super sweet, and then like there's a few of them that are like more on the tart end, or like they have aged into oak barrel or something, and those are like the good ones for my palate, anyways. Yeah. So I don't know what y'all want to do about next week, so I might.
I was literally gonna say that. Do you guys want to try to do like Saturday night or something? Or
I mean, they're releasing TWAB on Wednesday, so if we do Saturday, because you guys are the ones with family commitments, I don't.
Yeah.
Jared, are you coming in?
Yeah, I'm coming down. I'm
What
not
day
going
you
to
coming?
Thursday morning, maybe Wednesday.
Do you want to do like a 30-minute episode Wednesday,
If we're
like
gonna do one,
at the TWAB?
that's probably gonna be it. And but or we just like double down on the next week, and like we just do like a week off for Thanksgiving, or
I'd
like.
like to. I'd like to put one up
Mm-hmm.
just because it'll keep us like in the algorithm stuff if we
Okay.
have one every week.
Uh.
Even if like if you come in on Wednesday, me and
Mm-hmm.
Chad can bang one out in like
Mm-hmm.
25 or
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Absolutely. Y'all just do that. If I'm around Wednesday night, yeah. But if not, I mean, you two
Yeah,
plan on you two just doing it.
yeah.
Oh boy, that'll be interesting.
It'll be fine.
All right.
Jared won't be here to be our special guest referee.
Well, we're only talking about a TWAB, so it's not like it can get super heated.
Oh, you just wait. You just wait, Chad.
I will fly over there and I will take
But
your turkey.
if we fly over here, we'll just party. We'll have a
Wait,
good time.
wait, and come in like next year or like for a wedding reception.
Are you still planning to do one? I
Yeah,
know you had talked about it
we're gonna
before.
do at least a reception.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
need to do a whole ceremony thing. That's where a lot of the money goes for no reason.
trust me, he's right.
It's yeah. Yeah,
Um,
just having a gathering with all your friends is
yeah,
plenty.
the thing we talked about doing is like literally like we have everybody go to their like assigned seats and tables, and we do like a 10-minute ceremony of like we're there, and then right after that it's
Right.
straight to reception because like we're already married. We don't have to break and do pictures or anything. Like we can get all that done
Yeah.
beforehand.
Yeah, because you don't have to do that bullshit to where you can't see each other and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, Fox. Whenever you're ready to do the music,
Oh yeah, I forgot. I gotta give me like
so
45 seconds.
we're gonna test it out first.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just putting it in. All right, watch your ears. I'm sorry if this kills everybody. Does that sound all right, volume-wise? Good? Volume good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
All right. Just give us a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Conqueror's Corner podcast. Today is Thursday, November the 18th, and I'm not Ryan Fox, here with my fire team, Jared.
Hey guys, man, we got meaty TWAB this time, and who voted this time, Fox?
I didn't even look, to be honest with you. It's
Mm.
been a busy day today. I'm going to assume it's your boy since you brought it up.
DMG. Yeah.
Red.
Yeah. Well, he didn't really write it. He just handed it over to Kevin Yanes, didn't he? And let him handle all of it. We also got the war, Mr. Chronicler himself, Chad Ocero.
Yeah, I'm super excited to really dig into this TWAB with you guys, especially for my Titans out there. We're gonna have some stuff to talk about.
And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, don't forget you can take us on the road with Spotify, iTunes, other podcast services. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, click the bell, turn on notifications, yada, yada, yada. Follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. Send us a bunch of friend requests so we can play together. I was having trouble finding people to fill out a raid last night. It could have been you. You could have been number 6. Make sure you join the Discord server. Jared, it's time to let the dogs out.
All right. This week of Bungie, November 18th. Quick look ahead. December 7th is right around the corner and is only 19 days away. So there's some little things to finish up before then. You got your seasonal challenges. You got Trials of Osiris on the weekend, maybe an Iron Banner, and Godwall hunting and stuff like that. Next week is Thanksgiving week, so the TWAB will drop on a Wednesday, and expect it to be light. And it's time to get in some sandbox tuning. And my.
I got some bad news.
Yeah?
I may or may not have forgot to click record.
Yep. Definitely didn't.
So, all right.
Sounds like Ryan.
We got the practice run out of the way. You guys ready?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm so dumb. You can complain about us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. All right, I want to click the start recording in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Conqueror's Corner podcast. Today is Thursday, November the 18th, 2021. And I am here with my fire team, Jared.
That's right, coming to you with episode 35, and this one's going to be a big one for abilities and lots of changes.
And Mr. Chronicler himself, Chad Ocero.
Yeah, like Jared said, it's going to be real meaty. All you Titans out there, get ready to talk about some fun stuff and some not so fun stuff for some of you.
Got a lot of sandbox talk ahead of us here. Remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, we do have a pre-show that comes up a few minutes before we go live, so we can work out all the kinks, like making sure we start the podcast recording whenever everything gets going and everything like that. But don't forget, you can take us on the road with Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast services. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, click the bell, turn on notifications, yada, yada, yada. Follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. Send us a bunch of friend requests. Last night, we were running a Garden of Salvation, and we needed a sixth, and the sixth could have been you. If you just would have been online, we would have gladly helped you through. Jared, it's time to let the dogs out.
This week of Bungie, November the 18th. You know, first thing at the header is the Thorn armor from the dungeon that's coming in the 30th anniversary, and all of them's holding Thorn. And I sure hope we get that Thorn Catalyst. The drop will go along with this just to really complete the set. And December 7th is only 19 days away. So, you know, it's right around the corner. Some things to do until to get you there: seasonal challenges, Trials of Osiris, Iron Banner, finishing up some Grandmasters, some, of course, you know, your God Roll hunting here and there. Next week is Thanksgiving here in the United States. So the TWAB is actually going to drop on Wednesday. And then also expected to be light, as it's a short week for Bungie too. All right, so let's get into the sandbox changes. So the first person who's going to help us walk us through here is Kevin Yanes. Also helping him out is Eric Smith and Mike Humboldt. And, you know, they've been talking with TWABs and going on some other Destiny community podcasts and talk about stuff what they're going towards. And mainly they want the game to go towards weapons, and that be the primary weapon, primary way we engage each other, and not ability spam or wait for your super to pop up. So this is going to go towards that, and there's lots of stuff changing. And the first example is we can look at 2 arc grenades. The first grenade is a flux grenade, and that's right now it's only on the hunters. So what they're going to do, they'll make this grenade more lethal, but increase the cooldown. So the cooldown's going up from 82 seconds to 182 seconds. And they mentioned that these cooldown numbers they talk about, they're all tier 3 is what they're projecting these all to be. So actually your cooldown can be a little bit longer than this, but if you're at least tier 3, this is where it's going to be at. They also, for the flux grenade, increased the detonation damage whenever you stick a player in PvP from 150 to 250. That's a one-shot kill, guys.
Let's go.
They also increased the PvE damage by 15%. They remove the tracking that's on this grenade and add a small amount of aim assist. Increase throw speed by 117%. That now sticks to surfaces. All right, and then the next grenade is a firebolt grenade. That's kind of like you hit the ground, and it does a little radius going around, and then like it changes to someone, and maybe change twice depending on if you're running exotic or not. And so that damage originally was 90. That's dropping down to 65 damage now in PvP. And the cooldown is now reduced from 82 seconds to 64 seconds. And they make a little note here, like if you're running tier 10 discipline, you're going to have this grenade up a lot. And they also increased the PvE damage by 15%. That 15% damage to PvE is going to happen a lot with many of these grenades as we go and talk through these abilities and stuff. So this is like a change that they didn't go to every grenade and every subclass and spell all these out. That's going to happen in the patch notes later on. But if you can speculate of what this is going to be. So we're going to have some abilities that's more lethal, take longer to recharge, or some that are just like chip damage, but you have them up more often. So how you feel about this trend moving forward?
I'm digging it. The main reason I like it is because it'll, like they're saying, their main goal is to differentiate these abilities. The problem currently is that all grenades have the same cooldown, which means they all have to do relatively the same amount of damage, which is an issue when you have things like a trip mine or a magnetic grenade, and you have things like the firewall or the thermite grenade. Those things should very clearly, like just from a game sense, do different amounts of damage because they're doing two different things. You got like a zone control one, you got a grenade just to do a little bit of ad clearing, and then you got another one that's very specifically single target damage. And those should do three different kinds, three different levels of damage, which means the cooldowns should be three different levels of cooldowns. Obviously, the one that's hitting for a one shot should not happen as much. And so they're starting to do that because of the whole what is it, subclass 3.0 is going out, so it's going to make the subclass building more fun, more like you don't just pick a random grenade and make it fit because it's just a grenade. No, like the grenade choice is gonna matter more on your build than it does currently, and I'm excited about that. It's gonna make a difference in something that is I'm hopeful for, but again, it's for PvP stuff. It's gonna be needed to be tested for sure.
Especially whenever you start thinking about like the adrenaline junkie changes that they discussed last week. Basically, it's what they call it, grenade buckler was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like the working title for it. You think about that and some demolitionist. That demolitionist could work out a lot cooler with. You can probably be a lot more effective with some of the weaker grenades because they're going to come back faster. So that kind of stuff is going to be interesting. Uh, Warlock specifically, which we'll touch base on that later. But there was one thing that I thought was pretty cool, and I'll bring it back up later on.
All right. So in the 30th edition, whenever it drops, whenever you're looking at your tree, so like they have a image of the top tree Stormcaller, and they got their chain lightning ability. Base cooldown is actually going to have a number there whenever you're looking at it in the tree. So depending on what class you're running and what ability it has, the cooldown might be less than what it was before. It might be more, and they might have buffed or changed it. So whatever your favorite classes are, there's going to be a lot of tuning, and you have to dive into those numbers and see what's playing different and what maybe something else you want to spec into.
Now, I reread this multiple times to try to not ask stupid questions. So, you know how they mentioned like some of the grenades are going to take longer to like spec to regen. Do you think that like a tier 10 discipline is going to be like a percentage? Do you think that's going to be like percentages off? Because a tier 10 should take more time off of a grenade that has a longer regen than one that has a shorter regen, right? Wouldn't you think it'll be that way?
Yeah, I see what you're saying because if you got something at 182 seconds and another one at 65 or like 80, and each increment is 15, you're gonna have literally an instant other grenade. So it's got to be based off a percent, which means for the heavier damage grenades, tiers are gonna make more of a difference than those lower tier grenades. So
Right.
it again, that's going to be a thing where you're going to have to, if you're using a grenade that charges faster on its own anyway, you won't really have to spec into discipline if you have at least one gun that has demo on it. But if you're using those trip mines and flux grenades and stuff, you're going to have to, it's something that you're going to have to think about.
Unfortunately, Bungie did not tell us specifically what grenades are going to have what cooldown. That's coming in the patch notes on December 7th. All right. So we talked about the cooldowns, and the numbers we're going to be talking about is at a base tier 3. So we'll go ahead and get into the supers. And, man, supers are going to feel a lot different, and they're going to actually, you might see less of them. So passive supers and the increase of player skill into builds has created a passive gameplay to get more supers and get them faster. So everybody remembers Chaos Reach and that meta there for a while. People was getting supers in like less than 2 minutes, and that's
R.I.P.
yeah, that's not exactly what Bungie wants. They want you to be running a gun and shooting and taking damage. So they're going to be breaking off your super gain into 2 categories. One is still going to be tied to your intellect stat, and the other one is as you deal damage or you take damage, you will be getting super energy. So in PvE, according to their playtesting, they see no change, and actually maybe even slightly faster in some cases. Now, in normal control, Iron Banner 6v6, everybody should get at least 1 super by the time the game goes to the score limit or the time limit has been reached if they engage in combat regularly, cap zones and stuff like that. And Bungie does not expect a dramatic change in super uptime for most players in Control Banner. So right now, you can probably get 2 a game, and then like if you're having like a really good game, and maybe you're getting some orbs from your teammates, you can get 3, and some of the super sweats can probably get 4. So you're probably still going to see that, but in 3v3, there's a lot of sitting and waiting for your super, because usually those are sometimes insta-win matches, insta-win rounds if you get your super at the time right, and the other team don't have one. But you'll be seeing them less frequent there. I mean, I guess because, look, you're taking less damage, you're interacting maybe less per time. So on average, you should only see 2 supers per game in 3v3s. And I'm guessing that's in trials, not really in survival. Survival seems to go a lot longer than what trials does.
I know in trials, it would be, you would have to have like extended matches that went all 9 rounds and like be playing pretty well to get that second super. I mean, I played a lot of trials this season, and very rarely did we get one of us get 2 supers. And if you did, it would usually turn the match to where you could win that 9th round. So we all tried to spec kind of high in intellect just in case, because it won us. It got us to the lighthouse a couple times, anyways.
So, super energy regen, when they release this on December 7th, it's mainly going to be tied to primary weapon damage. So the more damage you do with your primary weapon, the more super regen you're going to get. So I think there actually might be, depending on how this is playing out in the sandbox, maybe some double primaries actually could be a good thing. And then also in the new system, scaling energy gains up and down based on the source is something that Bungie can set and play with like easily. They try to make that out to be. So that's why they're shipping primaries first. That's something that everybody has. I think they mostly wants the game focused around that, as your interactions, not everybody running around with shotguns, snipers, fusion rifles, and grenade launchers around the corner. And then super is like throughout a match. Usually you think about in Control, like after like 3 minutes into the game, it's like nonstop supers for 2 minutes, and then like a break for like 2.5 minutes, and then nothing but supers for 3 minutes. So now they're going to be a little more scattered throughout, and depending on the tier of super that it is, as we get into that here in a second, of like when they pop up during the match. All right. Yeah. Here we are. Tiers of super regen. All right. So tier 5 is going to be the fastest regen, and tier 1 is going to be the slowest regen. And the fastest one is going to be a support class, which is Well of Radiance. Great. Pretty great. I think that's hopefully a great PvE buff whenever we go to look at it and play with the numbers. At tier 4, Blade Barrage and Silence and Squall. I've already seen people on Twitter are up in arms about Silence and Squall super being the second fastest. It's a super that you use and you go away quickly, right? It's not somebody's not running around the map with a 40% damage reduction. So that's the same with like Blade Barrage. Blade Barrage is a one-time use, and then they move on. Tier 3 is going to be Shadow Shot, Burning Maul, Arc Staff, Nova Bomb, Thunder Crash. Kind of disappointed that Thunder Crash is at tier 3. I kind of think that should be at tier 4. Because that's
exactly what I thought. Nova Bomb should have been a tier 4 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely thought those too, because they're kind of a panic button super, we kind of call it.
Yeah.
So I thought they should have been tier 4s as well.
All right, tier 2 is going to be Golden Gun, Chaos Reach, Nova Warp, Storm Trance, Daybreak, Sentinel Shield. Chad, man, Sentinel Shield at 2?
Yeah. I mean, they yeah. We'll have to see what the timings are for that kind of stuff.
I think you got some good news coming for Void 3.0 whenever that happens. Tier 1, the slowest ones, is Spectral Blades, Picks of Havoc, Hammer of Soul, Glacier Quake, and Winter's Wrath. Those are definitely probably the best supers that's going on in PvP 6s right now, as in they last the longest. It seems like those are the ones that you can get killed by, get spawned, and then get killed by again.
Yeah, the Winter's Wrath one was kind of not super surprised. I don't really think of it as like the god tier Warlock super. I guess but it's just so effective at canceling out other supers. I assume that's why it is where it is.
Yeah, I think they mentioned here that it's still going to be the best super at shutting down other roaming supers. All right. So there's many abilities that's tied to subclasses about getting your other abilities back faster. You think about Arc Web on top tree Stormcallers. You can really get your grenade back quite quickly. Some of these abilities are going to get toned down and be less effective in PvP. So those are Whisper of Shards, Arc Web, Rising Storm, Ionic Traces, Electrostatic Surge, Aftershocks, Inertia Override, Benevolent Dawn, Practice Makes Perfect, and Dark Matter. The one that I enjoy the most is Inertia Override on Striker Titan, sliding over special ammo, and you're getting that nice damage bonus, and you're getting some melee energy back. So I think originally it's like 20% melee energy back. So all of these regions should be hit by about 50%. So now that Inertia Override is only going to give you around 10% of your melee energy back. And I'm sure that's the same way of the other ones. That Malevolent Dawn Pork, I know that's probably something that people might be using more and more in PvP now. If you can get up 3 whales a game instead of just 2 of other supers, and people are throwing around healing grenades and walking through rifts, I mean, it seems like an easier way to get your abilities back.
It could be interesting for sure. Most definitely. I mean, it's such a, like, that class, in my head, it's such a PvE focused class. It's hard to even think about it in like the PvP realm.
Yeah.
So, I've been preaching the Stormcaller Warlock this whole season in Trials about how people underestimate it, and then you look on here and look at all the neutral nerfs and everything it's getting here. So that subclass is filthy, and people don't really use it a whole lot.
All right. The next thing is that supers that like regen their energy on whenever you get a kill while in super. So you think about bottom tree Dawnblade and then bottom tree Striker. So whenever they're going around getting kills, they get like super regen. So now, it used to be after 7, you got a decrease of like extra super buff. Now it's going to happen after 3. So you shouldn't be seeing those supers roaming around quite as long. But I swear that bottom tree Striker Titan could almost last a minute, it feels like. All right. Next thing up is exotic armor changes. And there are many exotic armors that help buff your melee, grenade, class ability, super regen, and pretty much all of them's getting touched here. So the first one up is Frosties, and that no longer stacks multiplicity in PvP for regeneration buff. So what comes to mind there is the stasis aspect. There's a fragment. Whenever you shatter, you can start regaining your grenade, and you're running Frosties, and you can keep sprinting afterwards. You can get your grenade back in 10 seconds. So that's no longer going to stack on top of that.
Thank God.
You still didn't see that many of them. I think you still see mostly Stompies instead of Frosties. Hey, Chad. Hold it in most light, man. That top tree striker where you got double nades. I started doing this for like the last 2 weeks in PvP, and now they're nerfing it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, at least you got to have fun.
So ability
to enjoy it while you could.
Yep. Ability energy scalars are now reduced by 50% in PvP. So they also reworked the activating multiple abilities will now reliably result in multiple empowered stacks. The stacking behavior was previously bugged, but this time seemed a good opportunity to promote it in this feature. And then Conqueror's Hold. This is another one of my favorite PvE exotics for a Warlock. And the grenade regeneration buff no longer is random between 1 and 4 seconds. It is now fixed duration at 1.5 seconds. And then they reduced the grenade energy regeneration scalar by 50% in PvP. Oh, this one hurts. And I especially love this one whenever the Oppressive Darkness was around. All right, next one is Doomfang Pauldrons. And that is reduced super energy gain on activation when opposing player is killed by a void melee by 50%. This is one I haven't really played with. Chad, did you ever play with this one?
It's fun. I mean, you feel like Captain America because every time you get a kill, you get so much of your super back. If you keep chaining kill to kill to kill, that super will last forever. The problem is getting used to aiming those shields and making sure that each shield you chuck gets a kill. That's the hard part for most people. It's much easier to just run arc and then just shoulder charge people over and over again across the map and then find them again when they respawn and kill them again. But Doomfangs is definitely a really fun one because it's a lot safer. You can just chuck it and then sit there and wait for it to kill someone because it has a really good homing. So this one hurts, but I'll be okay.
At least there's no change in PvE. You can still make that super last for
of course.
2 minutes in PvE.
Yeah.
All right, Shinobu's Vow. Reduce grenade energy gain on hits versus players by 66%. Oof. Man, this was bad. No change in PvE, Whenever I got on Orc Strider, I usually throw this on for a game or two, every now and then if I'm on a long Crucible play session. And playing on Cauldron on the Moon, somebody opens the door, you launch 2 of those in there to the middle room. They're tracking somebody. You're getting hits. And then you can push in because you know somebody's on half shields.
Did you guys play the Trials week whenever that was the map? Cauldron.
I think I played a little bit, yeah.
And okay, were you in the match with me when they had like 3 Shinobu's Vow hunters, and anytime they would push middle, we couldn't do anything because they were just bouncing grenades over and over. And I was running a Stag Warlock Rift, and they still killed me out of that. It was wild. I've never seen anything like it. It was like one of those cheesy teams that it's just straight gimmick. And until if your team's not good enough to be patient with the gimmick, you're gonna lose. But that was a very frustrating gimmick.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then a couple seasons ago, Arc Grenades got a special regen mod on the seasonal artifact, and there was a lot of fun that season. All right, the next exotic here is Crown of Tempest. So grenade, melee, and super energy regeneration, scalar buff duration reduced from 7 seconds to 4 seconds in PvP. No change in PvE. Fox, I know you talked about Stormcaller. Did you ever run this one?
Mate in 6s, I would run it banner or something, because this was how you could kind of chain everything together and kill a bunch of people with like one grenade,
Yeah.
and it was pretty sweet. And this was my gambit. If I'm like try harding in gambit, if I'm in like the ad clear role, I'll definitely use the Crown of Tempest in it because you can do you can do a lot of damage. You can get a lot of massacre medals using it.
All right, last exotic here is the Stag. Reduce class ability energy refund on shield break by 50% in PvP. So, like, I use this a little bit. I know Fox uses a lot more than I did. But it seems like whenever you died, you basically got like 90% of your rift back.
Yep. Yeah, it was. This was kind of my trials after the people started kind of countering, or actually, it was more of a map situation to where your arc bro wasn't quite as effective. I switched over to Stag, and it definitely needed touched because it was overpowered. But I'll use it while it is. So, but it definitely needs some work.
I still think it's too powerful whenever you can take 3 headshots from a hand cannon, from a 140 hand cannon, and not die. I think.
Yeah, and that was kind of the part that I thought was pretty wild. They didn't really mention a whole lot about that. So I'm curious if there'll be more in the patch notes or if that's all they're doing. That was one I kind of had like bookmarked to take a look at.
The next one is armor mods, and there's lots of armor mods that help you get your abilities back whenever you use a class ability or when you use one of your other abilities. It helps get them back, and all those will get cut in half, basically. So that's your melee, grenade, and utility kickstarts, perpetuation, focusing strike, bomber, outreach, dynamo, distribution, momentum transfer, impact induction. All of them's getting cut in half. There's just going to be half potent in PvP. So that means they should be untouched in PvE. So just necessary changes there. The next thing here is stasis crystals, and this is one that it was on everybody's radar. DMG tweeted out yesterday or the day before, like LOL Shadow Dive and
LOL Shadow Dive.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
Yep.
It would have been better if Cosmo would have tweeted it, but whatever.
Cosmo's Hunter main. He didn't want to see it go away. All right. Stasis crystals. They will now slow players instead of freezing them, and they would do much less damage to the players when they detonate. So they'll still freeze PvE combatants. They increase the slow freeze radius from 1.75 meters to 2.6 meters. Reduce crystal detonation damage versus players by about 55%. Increased crystal detonation damage versus PvE by 60%. Increased detonation radius from 8 meters, and it was 6 meters. So, hard nerf in PvP, but a huge buff in PvE. All right. So go ahead.
So as far as, do you think that will solve the stasis, shatter dive, hunter, OP thing? I mean, like, let's be honest, the more you play, like I played a lot. I played more Crucible this season than I have the other 3 seasons combined, probably times 2. I don't get killed by shatter dive a whole lot anymore. Especially in like 3s, whenever it's easier to keep track of like what the other team has. In 6s, it still happens occasionally just because it's a little more chaotic on smaller maps. But do you think this will solve the community's perception of Shatter Dive?
Yes, if you look down into the hunter section, where we're about to go over here in a little bit, basically if the hunter completely specs into Shatter Dive, when they throw the circle crystal down which is the special fragment where you get the extra crystals, you have 6 total crystals. If the enemy is standing dead center, it will still die. but it has to be dead center in the middle of all the. It can't be on the outside radius of the crystals. So it shouldn't happen very often.
Right. I also noticed in that hunter part they talk about how they know that it's basically they know it's too hot. How long do you think they've known it's too hot?
Well, this is like the 4th pass at it, so it's been hot since they first shipped it in Beyond Light.
Right. So do you think they kept it hot to make people buy?
Absolutely. That's the reason the Winch Striper has been nerfed. That's the reason Bleak Watcher turrets finally just now got a slight nerf. Behemoth Titan is one that's kind of been lackluster for a while. But yeah, absolutely. You gotta still be on light so you can make the other ones.
Yeah. There's a lot of Beyond Light controversy, which we will discuss in the Q&A, the mailbag.
Yeah. All right, so Hunter changes. So Hunter dodges. I kind of felt something was coming to this, and this hurts a little bit for PvE. So Hunter dodge. So Marksman dodge. That's when you dodge, you reload your weapon. Tier 10 mobility cooldown is now 14 seconds from the 11 seconds that it was, and the base cooldown is unchanged at 29 seconds. Gambler's dodge. So that's the one where you get your melee ability back when you dodge close to enemy. Tier 10 mobility cooldown is now 18 seconds from the 11 seconds that it was, and base cooldown is now up to 38 seconds from the base 29. This is the Hunter smoke your teammates and keep on going and getting some clutch revives. That's what this is a nerf to, because they don't want people constantly have the melee ability up in PvP. So this one stings a little bit, but it definitely could have been worse. I'm just going to have to make sure to have at least a kickstart on or something like that on my class item for PvE. All right, Revenant. It's been one of the most used hunter subclasses since Beyond Light. I mean, it has been in PvP. And Shadow Dive is the main reason to that. There was a time where the suck grenades and the cold snap grenades was what everybody was using. They wasn't using Shadow Dive, but that was only like a few weeks span before they nerfed those. So Shadow Dive is not going to be as lethal as it was before because of the crystal changes that we've already mentioned. However, they buffed the Shadow Dive damage to frozen PvE combatants by 100%. So probably that's not the aspect that I would run in PvE. It's actually Grim Harvest, and it's now getting a slight buff, and you can now hold 3 fragments instead of the 2. And as we're going along here, eventually one podcast I will break down that build of basically just getting charged with light and getting wells through Grim Harvest. All right, top tree Arc Strider. Combination blow is usually always paired with Gambler's dodge. So they're completely changing that. Cooldown was originally 96 seconds, and it is now 15 seconds. So that's whenever after you dodge, you have the increased melee ability and melee range. So that's going to be up a lot. That's going to be spicy. I could see some shotgun mains moving over to that class and easily getting some shotgun melees off at a ridiculous range. Bottom tree Night Stalker.
Can't wait.
Vanish the Smoke melee has a low damage output in PvP, but it has high utility. So they still think it's struggling in the PvP part of the game. So they're going to increase the base cooldown from 96 seconds. Decrease it 96 to 75 seconds. So overall, it could have been worse for hunters. Shadow Dive had its time in the sun. It's now melted away. I'm looking now with what they did for the balance changes, and I think Shadow Dive, if it wasn't so great for so long, they probably could have kept it as a one-hit ability, but it would have had the really long cooldown. But they can't leave it at this point. They just have to take it away. And Chad, time for some Titan talk.
Lots of Titan talk to go through. I think most of the Hunter talk was done with the stasis stuff because all that stasis stuff was basically hitting Shatter Dive. So a lot of that was already hit. But with Titans, their first thing, like we were saying before, is they wanted to reduce ability play in Crucible so that they could have more gunplay. And for the Titans, their first thing they did was hit the shoulder charge. It's no longer a one-shot ability. But what they did to make it, they made it more usable. Besides, so they reduced its killing potential, but they increased its usability. The sprint times reduced from 1.5 seconds to 1.25. So you have to sprint less to activate it, and then the range goes from 5.5 meters to 6.8 meters. So they increased the range that it flies off by a whole meter. I see Ryan shaking his head, but it won't kill you. So don't worry about it. Um, and the targeting cone, the cone in which it auto targets and locks onto somebody, has been increased in width by 10%. And then the damage to PvE combatants has increased by 25%. So I'm gonna do some Peregrines testing for sure on that one. See how that goes. But they also made a couple changes for each individual flavor of it. For the arc one, they reduced the AoE damage on it from 90 to 40. It blinds enemies within that AoE damage, and then it increased the cooldown from 82 to 90 seconds. And that 82 to 90 cooldown is across the board for all the subclasses. Now for the void one, they reduce the AoE damage again from 90 to 40, and then the cooldown is increased from 82 to 90. And then for the solar, the direct impact damage was reduced from 170 to 120, and then also the same cooldown change. Now the hammer strike also has that debuff on it, which is why that damage hits a little bit harder. Um, so they had to show that one there. But I mean, I'm a little sad about it. Most people use shoulder charge currently for movement. If you're unlucky to be around the corner that it's going, you're dead. Um, but I mean, Peregrines are still there. If you want to sacrifice your exotic for your shoulder charging potential, you still got Peregrines, and you can use Monte Carlo for increased super gains on kills because it's an exotic primary. So you can get a couple more supers off with that too. But the next thing that they did was they actually did talk about barricades. They reduced the cooldowns to make them more usable, so they didn't feel as risky going into. For the tower and barricade, they reduced the cooldown from 237 from 40, and then the rally barricade from 37 to 32. So you're gonna be able to use them more often. Actually, so the towering barricade is increased. So you got 40 seconds for towering now and 32 seconds for rally. So to differentiate them more often. Um, so they want people to the towering barricade is obviously used more often for just hold a wall. Just there it is. People can't shoot. You can run away or you can stand behind it. And Rally doesn't have that defense, so they wanted to have a lower cooldown. So people use it more often for that maximum reload speed. Now the next thing they did was hit Behemoth. Like Jared said, it's been kind of lackluster for a long time, and I agree. I never really used it in PvP except for like I want to say the first month of Beyond Light because there were new aspects coming out every week and there's more stuff that we could do with it, and it was the new hot kid on the block. So you wanted to rock it and say, hey, look what I got. But after that, everybody dropped off and it just wasn't as good. So they wanted it to also feel like in PvE it was an option because even in Beyond Light, it's never really been an option for PvE at all. There's so many other supers that are better for PvE. But the first thing they did is targeted Diamond Lance. They increased the fragment slots from 1 to 3, and then it spawns a Diamond Lance on upon killing a PvE combatant with a stasis weapon. Upon killing 3 players with stasis weapons in a single life, and killing an enemy with a stasis ability, and shattering an enemy. So you will create a lance from killing an enemy with basically any stasis anything. As long as you're a Titan, you can use your weapons, you can use your abilities, you can shatter them, someone else froze it, and it's there's gonna be lances all over the place. But again, like they said, they increased the fragment slots from 1 to 3. Now the next thing they did is to Shiver Strike. They increased the damage while in Glacial Quake by 50%. So it's gonna do a lot more damage while you're in Super. And then Whisper of Chains for the Titans increases the damage resistance versus PvE combatants from 25 to 40%. So you're going to have a lot more resistance from Whisper of Chains. The Shiver Strike damage is increased by 50%. So you're going to be able to be in that super just damaging people left and right, creating lances so that once you're out of super, you can free some stuff and safely get away. Now, the next thing they did was hit Bottom Tree Striker, which I know nobody except for Bottom Tree Striker users likes in PvP. Nobody. Only the people that use it like it. I don't like it. I don't use it in PvP because I don't want to be that person. But what they did is they its ability knockout, the melee range was melee lunge range and melee damage bonus now deactivate after you get a melee kill. And then for trample, super energy gain from Fist of Havoc light attack now decays to a minimum amount over 3 kills, down from 7. So once you hit that 3 kills, you don't get nearly as much back. So you can't just keep chaining over and over and getting across the map and murdering that same guy you just killed on activation. Now the frontal assault melee increased the base cooldown from 82 to 106 seconds. And then for Fist of Havoc, the heavy slam radius was reduced from 8 to 6 meters on only the bottom tree. So top tree still has that big 8-meter AoE. The bottom tree only goes down to 6. So I mean, all in all, for me, PvP changes for that. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm hoping that I don't get killed by that twice in a row.
Yeah.
Same guy again. And I feel like it happens at least every play session that I have where I'm in Crucible. It has to. Like it's guaranteed that I'm gonna get killed by the same bottom tree striker twice in a super.
Dude, and then like
And
if they're running Doom Archers or One-Eyed
oh,
Mask,
no.
you can't.
Yeah.
They're unstoppable.
You just can't do anything. You can't. It's just it's just horrible.
And that Whisper
to
of
grab your
Chains
ankle.
buff is universal for Titan, Warlock, and Hunter.
Yeah.
So that 40% damage reduction might be pretty handy in some GMs or maybe a day one raid or a dungeon that you're maybe a little bit underpowered and can help yourself out.
I think we made it to the Warlocks. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. So Warlocks. If you played a Warlock for very long, I'm sure you've noticed that you can get double meleeed much faster than you're able to double melee. Well, not so fast, my friend. As with the 30th anniversary, Warlocks will be able to melee just as quickly as Titans and Hunters. However, they will be removing the 1 meter range advantage that you have in order to compensate for increasing the time. They do mention that one day they hope to bring it back to have like a differentiation between the 3 classes, but right now it just makes a little more sense to just have all that even. I completely agree because there's nothing more frustrating than getting double meleeed and you melee the first time at the same time and then the second time they get you back or they get you first. So they'll take it from 5.5 meters to 4.5 meters, which is now matches the Hunter and the Titan, and reduce the suppression time after the melee, which equals that out. With the middle tree Voidwalker is the next. So this is more on the handheld Supernova. It's also getting the shoulder charge treatment, which Chad had just mentioned. So the handheld Supernova will no longer one-shot in PvP. So in order to compensate for this, it will now travel further as well as push enemies back. So prior to I think whenever I first got on, or it might have been during the pre-show, I asked you guys, what do you think it'll mean to push enemies back? So our dream is that it's like the tractor cannon and pushes them back. It's probably not going to be quite like that, but I think it'll still probably be a pretty effective counter for shotguns. So if somebody's rushing you, you can hit them with that, and you're around the corner, you can hit them with the handheld Supernova. You throw them back, so whenever they do fire that shotgun, they're going to be out of that OHK range there. The increase the damage of handheld Supernova and Nova Warp versus champion and boss combatants. They had increased it already in Season of the Lost, but it felt like that it could use even more juice. I don't use handheld supernova a lot in PvE, but mainly because it always kind of felt weak. So just kind of not my playstyle really. So handheld supernova in summary, reduced damage versus players, deals 150 damage max, increased damage versus champions and bosses by 30%, increased range from 12 to 14 meters, and pushes targets away from the warlock on detonation. Also, Nova Warp increased damage versus champions and bosses by 30%. So that could be interesting. Nova Warp, not so much a PvE super. Usually, if you're going to run that Void, you're going to run that Devour Warlock most of the time because it's pretty fun to play with.
The big thing is getting you there
The
is stop
next-
mechanic. Like it's
Yeah,
so hard to run
yeah.
that class.
Yeah, that stop mechanic is just it's a problem with much more than just Nova Warp. It's a problem with everything, but it's kind of the only thing that stops us from just running up real close and just blasting it with shotguns, I suppose.
Well, can't use shotguns from range, so what else you supposed to do with them?
I guess it's either make them not usable, like nerf them into the ground, or use a stomp mechanic. I guess I don't like the stomp mechanic. I wish there was another way. There's nothing more frustrating than getting stomped from something that's floating in the air.
Yep.
That's very that's very frustrating. So, and it seems to happen quite a bit in like Gambit Primevals. Seem to see that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, Shadebinder is our next. So, the main issue they talked about was the super Winter's Wrath is still the best super for shutting down other supers. So to counteract this, it now has to freeze and shatter other supers twice to kill them. So I think this is pretty fair. It's probably still going to feel very frustrating whenever you come through with your super and you get that, because if they hit the first freeze on you, they're definitely going to hit the second freeze on you. So it's kind of like a left click, right click, left click, right click, which can happen pretty fast. The only good thing is that that's going to take, I don't know, probably what, 35 to 40% of the super away.
Mm-hmm.
doing that twice. So that's it's still very frustrating, but it's better than it is now. So they say, as a general rule, roaming supers shouldn't be able to one-shot other supers. Completely agree on that 100%. There's some supers going in, like we'll be playing trials and we'll have a guy and he'll be like, I can't fight that super because it's going to kill me faster than I can kill it. And that just doesn't feel real good. So the roaming supers shouldn't be able to one-shot others. The other part, and this is something that I had kind of noticed but was embarrassed to say, I missed that melee quite a bit, that ranged freeze melee in PvE content whenever we're running it, because anything that's like difficult or something, I'll throw that the stasis turret build on, and I miss that melee a lot. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that does it. So they have mentioned here, while they made the ability harder to land in PvE, it had a negative effect on the PvE experienced. We've increased the proximity detonation radius against PvE combatants to make it easier to land. So hopefully that makes it feel better. They also go on to mention that since all three stasis grenades now have different cooldown times, they made a change to Bleak Watcher to avoid a situation where you would always use the grenade with the shortest cooldown time to throw your stasis turret. So, so basically you have an overall cooldown increase for Bleak Watcher, which fits the high power output, because that is the go-to PvE class right now. It's, it definitely needs touched because it's too strong as it is, and we've been telling you for 35 episodes that is too strong as it is. So so to kind of sum everything up, Winter's Wrath, reduce the shatter pulse damage versus enemy supers. You have to freeze and shatter twice to eliminate. increase the proximity detonation radius of the penumbral blast by 100%, and Bleak Watcher, while equipped, all stasis grenades charge at the glacier grenade rate. So don't forget, full patch list notes, December 7th. That's the day of the anniversary, like the drop of that season, or is that what they're calling it? A season, or
I think it's like a
an event?
15.5 or something like that. But it's like
Okay.
it's the 30th anniversary. And then
Yeah, so
So-
they'll have full patch notes then, so you can check it out there.
so the glacier grenade is going to be the slowest regen stasis nade. And the other two are going to
Yeah,
be faster.
So obviously, I've been, at this point, the way that the amount of time that we play Destiny, we have to look for things to kind of keep us going. So obviously, I've been trying to get high discipline gear and builds, so where I can run like 100 recovery, 100 discipline, or like 100 discipline, 100 intellect. Intellect, I didn't really care a whole lot. I didn't care as much about as I did recovery, because the super in PvE, you're not really. It's nice, but I would much rather have the rifts, because I always think of things in a in-game content mind frame. So I'm curious to see how the intellect stat is going to affect the more potent abilities, like the more potent grenades. So I'm very interested in that, because if you spec into like 100 discipline, I know that glacial grenade is still going to take a while. The glacier grenade, rather, is still going to take a while to regen, but I hope it's not like 2.5 minutes or something. You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see how they approach that.
Yeah, that flux grenade was 3-minute cooldown. So, that was at tier 3. So, I mean, hopefully you can get it back down close to a minute at least. And not to mention, if you're using the demolitionist
I would
weapon.
probably be happy. Right. Yeah. So a demo weapon and like a full tier 10, I would hope it would be like, 90 seconds at least, right?
I would say that's
I
a
don't know.
bad scenario. If it's at 90,
Yeah,
the
so-
best you can get.
So I don't know. We'll see what it's like. So I guess we'll know more in, what was it, 19 days?
Yep, I'm really interested to see the tiers where they change some of the grenades or melee abilities. Trip mine. Is it going to be weaker or is it going to be stronger? Is it going to be a one-hit kill? Is it going to be a one-hit kill if you stick somebody, but it reduce damage if it's on like a wall or something like that?
I kind of read it to be that was going to be I thought a trip mine was going to be a big boy,
Yeah, but
like one of the big dogs.
they didn't tell us in detail what the grenades are going to be, so it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and they're not going to tell us any more about it until those patch notes come out, if I had to guess.
Yeah. And I really like the Titan changes about the stasis weapon creating diamond lance. I think that is actually going to be. That could actually be like have somebody on day one raid team as like the ad clear guy.
Yeah, because anyone can pick up the lance.
Oh yeah.
He could shoot someone across the map and then create a lance for you, and you freeze the guys in front of you to help you do a little ad control, And I mean that's nothing but positive.
You're pairing that with Ager's scepter. I mean, there's nothing moving towards you. Everything's freezing. You're picking up those lances, freezing the next wave, creating more diamond lances.
Yep.
Yeah, that's gonna be sick.
I forgot to report in that I did get the catalyst for that finally. Well, I haven't completed the objectives for the catalyst, but the catalyst dropped. So that'll probably be something I work on up until December 7th.
All right, it's time to do a weapons breakdown. And as Fox mentioned this week, we got into the Garden of Salvation. And we might as well, go back and look at the history of that and break down the weapons that's in there. And unfortunately, there's no heavy weapon. And at the time of Shadow Keep and all that stuff, it was hard to come by a pinnacle heavy weapon. And that was usually the last slot that everybody needed. And the main reason the raid didn't have one. All right, first weapon, Sacred Providence. Kinetic four burst pulse rifle. I believe it's the only one that is not sunset. And, that's the same archetype as Go Figure or Bygones. Which one of those was? Anyways,
I believe that's a yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I think you're right, man.
so PVE, you're gonna look at small bore ricochet rounds, rapid hit, kill clip. And truth be told, if you want that role and not even worry about the PvP role, it's pretty much the same. And just in PvP, I would just go for arrowhead and high caliber, and then again, it's rapid hit, kill clip. Because with pulses with that high caliber on them, you can really flinch somebody and make their screen shake a little bit.
I do have that. I have that exact role. I have small bore, and then I can choose ricochet or high cal, rapid hit, kill clip with a range masterwork.
Yep.
On that gun, and it feels real good. I'm a pretty big fan of that gun.
You can also get rangefinder in the third slot. That's pretty unique. So I think I have one with the arrowhead high cal rangefinder kill clip. I tried using it in PvP, and like I'm not really a pulse rifle person. I quetch on hand cannons. So all right, next weapon is Reckless Oracle. It's a void rapid fire frame auto rifle. So one thing about these weapons is there's only 4 different perks you can get in columns 3 and 4. So it's actually not that hard to go get your God Roll compared to other raids. So for PvE, I'm looking for Hammer Forged, Ricochet or Armor Piercing, Auto Loading or Outlaw with Kill Clip. I personally really like auto loading because I like stowing the weapon and then like going to like Izanagi's or to my heavy weapon to take out like a big enemy after I like break his shield, especially with anti-barrier auto rifle. PvP, these are kind of in a weird spot. I mean, the range is kind of edging onto where multi-mock is and to where the SMG from Trials.
Shayra's Wrath.
Yeah, so you're right there competing with them, and they perform a little bit better than this does. But PvP, extended barrel, high caliber rounds, under pressure, kill clip. Now you can also get demolitionist in the last column of this one, with the changes to some of the grenades that maybe if you really like rapid fire frame auto rifles, you want to hold on to a demo roll. So Chad, we got a fusion rifle here, and
Yep.
I need your help, man. I kind of don't know what I'm looking for here.
It's always a fun one with fusions. Since I'm the only one that uses them. In PvP, with this season we have a very big PvE fusion base at the moment. But I mean, your guess was pretty much spot on from what I would have picked. Like he said, there's only like 4 perks you can get in the third and fourth column, so there's not too many options. But if we do a hammer forge, let's see, where is it? A arrowhead break particle repeater for that stability, and then under pressure and high impact reserves. Under pressure, high impact is kind of a go-to for fusions, especially in PvP, since you start the game with it active. And in the high impact reserves, you're already set. You have those automatic bonuses right off the rip. Since this is a rapid fire, typically you will want to go with more stability. That way you can keep it more controlled. And the arrowhead break will help with that. That was a recoil direction will be more of an up and down, so you'll be able to get much more predictable shots faster. And so the stability is definitely a go-to on this one. If you want to do range, if you're already used to the way it fires, then you can do range. Obviously, that's definitely a choice there. But for PvE, probably looking at a extended barrel, enhanced battery, and then auto loading high impact. It's one of those things where you'll just whip it out to just burst some stuff real quick and then stow it again so that it'll reload itself and then be good to go for something else big that you can get into. But yeah, I mean, the high impact under pressure is always a go-to for any fusion. Doesn't matter what it is. It's always, if you get one like that, you're you're pretty made in the shade.
Yeah, that arrowhead break plus counterbalance mod will get you to a 94 recoil direction, so it don't get much better than that. All right, next thing, Fox. We got a hand cannon at 140, the meta right now, and
I really like this hand cannon too. So I'm very happy I get to talk about the Ancient Gospel Solar 140. I had 2 of these sitting in my vault. The PVE roll here, there's a Hammer Forge, Tac Mag, Rapid Hit, Dragonfly. I will say I have that exact roll. I'm sure Chad is furious at me for having it. I take that back. I don't have Tac Mag, I have Extended Mag, but otherwise I have the rest of that. And then PvP here. I really like the small bore accurized rapid hit kill clip. Is kind of the role that I like on that. A lot of people like the Eye of the Storm rangefinder. So, and of course, Hammer Forged is also a great. If you don't like small bore, Hammer Forged is nice there as well. So, I don't know. It's there's kind of a lot of good rolls for that hand cannon because there's such a limited perk pool for it.
Mhm.
So, I kind of liked it because it felt like the solar version, like the PVE roll, kind of feels like the solar version of the Fake Bringer from the Last Wish raid there. So, yeah. So I really like that gun. I don't use it near as much as I should, to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of hard whenever Palindrome's there in the same slot, and Palindrome just kind of like edges out and like in all of its stats too. But Palindrome can't get
it
kill
also
clip though.
it does have overflow, which is kind of nice for the PVE stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is. It's nice to have. I'm glad I have one.
All right, next weapon is Prophet of Doom. It's our arc pellet precision frame shotgun. These don't see too much action. I've seen like here and there. I think most people going for lightweights or still using the aggressive frames with the fail winners and stuff. But if you look at PvP, full choke, assault mag, slideways opening shot. Slideways is the little brother, the slide shot. It just buffs stability and handling, and it still reloads one, but it don't give you that increase in range when sliding, and it's kind of a bummer. So it's just really, as a PvP shotgun, this one really ain't it. But if you got this one and in need of a shotgun, you might as well use it. PvE, rifle barrel, assault mag, feed and frenzy, 1-2 punch. Man, 1-2 punch is fun, and I'm sure Chad's got some kind of Titan build to punch something with a shotgun, right?
Oh man. Yeah, probably. I'm more looking at it for my 2-4 punch on my hunter. Go back to those days.
Yep.
Once they got rid of Python, this was the only option you really had at the moment. So get that double 1-2 punch with the tractor cannon, bam, 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 bam. Just
Yeah. All right, last weapon here. Omniscient Eye, which is a solar rapid fire frame sniper. This thing came around at the time when Voker was, at the height of its powers, and this was basically 90% of what Voker was. And in PvP, you're looking at fluted, accurized, mulligan snapshot. That mulligan, if you miss a shot, you get your shot back. But with Voker, if you miss your first shot, you automatically got that shot back. So this was a chance, So and this is a 35 zoom sniper, and those got hit hard with aim assist. So these used to be the meta in PvP, and now they can't even double body. So either you're hitting your headshot or you're out. PvE, I mean, you can get Dragonfly on it, but this is not a PvE sniper. Really, I don't see anybody really using this sniper at all. Yeah, if I'm going to use a rapid fire frame sniper and that's solar, I'm going to use Akilos one. You can get like 4 times the charm, high impact reserves, and just all around just a better sniper than what this one is.
I haven't been killed by that sniper in a long time in Crucible.
All right, so there is the Garden of Salvation weapons. If you get in there, we still got another, 2.5 months of fusion rifles being amazing, and Zealous Reward is right there. I've seen some pretty crazy montages with the under pressure high impact reserves. Again, we're telling you this. Please look out for that roll. Under pressure, you also get increased accuracy at the bottom of that mag, which is a huge deal.
And after running that raid last night, I'd like to run it a little more often. So if you listen and that's something you're interested in, get in touch with us and we can run it. It's a beautiful raid. It's a fun raid. The final boss is a pain in the behind, but other than that final boss, it's a pretty quick, smooth raid.
All right.
I think that takes us on to Gambling Corner, right, Jared?
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
All right. So real talk. So we're not going to do a Gambling Corner this week, primarily because Thanksgiving is next week. So we're trying to figure out if people are going home and what everybody's schedule is going to be. So we're going to hold off this week. We would like to update last week. So last week the bet was an over/under bet, and that would be whether we got a 60% or higher win rate in the Gambit punishment, the 2 hours of Gambit. So I had a lot of fun in the 2 hours of Gambit. I will say that we did not hit the 60% win rate. It came down to the last game, and we lost. So we did not hit it. We were at like 56 or 57, I think, is what it came out to be at the end. I will say that out of the 5 games we lost, 1 game somebody got kicked, and 2 games we faced a very blatant cheater that was invading and just shooting us as soon as they invaded. So I blame that as the reason why we didn't have a 60% win rate. Our current totals, Jared has 10,000 Glimmer. Chad has 18,500 Glimmer. Chad was the only one that won his bet this week. And I have 37,000 Glimmer. Did you guys want to add anything into your Gambit punishment? How did you guys enjoy playing opposite control scheme?
Yeah, so I was on controller. I had to use a sidearm and sniper. And man, it was rough. I used to be able to shoot through flinch on a controller, and I just completely lost the ability to do that. It was so frustrating. Every now and then I get an army of 1, but man, I was ready to throw a controller, and I haven't wanted to do that in a long time. And it's definitely a punishment. It almost broke me, so I almost went out to the garage and smashed that controller.
I mean, Jared had it much worse than I did. Mainly because he had to use a sidearm. Sidearm was his only primary, and that's horrible. Since I don't hate any particular guns, Ryan stuck me with a scout rifle. So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, scout fusion is basically what I'm running most of the season anyway. So that's fine. I didn't have to change too much. I played on the keyboard, and I had plenty of what's this button do moments, or Ryan saying super, and I'm like, what is it? I haven't used it this entire game. I forgot what it was.
You threw a match. It's okay to admit it.
I'm not gonna admit it because I didn't.
Yeah, we got the vodka through it though.
It's our 5th game. Our 5th game, and Chad is third as super, and we lose by like, I don't know what, 2%, 3% primeval damage. And I'm like, Chad, throw your super. I don't remember what button it is. He's already thrown it 4 or 5 times in the games prior. But whenever we need him to throw his Thunder Crash super to win the game, he magically can't remember which button to push. So
I couldn't remember which button it was on the other ones either.
It's a VOD on we stream on the YouTube, so it'll all be there for you if you want to go in and check it out and see that Chad's a cheater. So I think that takes us to the lore time of the podcast. So I'm going to hand it over to Chad the Chronicler and let him take us from here.
All right. Well, we're going to get back into the Books of Sorrow. This one's going to be a little bit shorter than the other ones simply because of the length of the TWAB. So this part series is going to be a little longer, but that's fine. We can figure that one out. But then we're going back to verse 2, chapter 2, verse 7, the weakness verse. And it looks like it's from the point of view of the worms again. So it says, You are dead, young Oryx, betrayed and murdered by your own sister, for the crime of mercy. Remember what you said to the Ammonite Satellite Congress? We will parley on neutral ground. Savathun's witches have rendered it utterly neutral. No living thing will ever claim it again. The space around the dry moon stinks of rot. This is good. This is right. You will learn from this. Don't you understand, great king? Don't you want to build something real, something that lasts forever? Our universe gutters down toward cold entropy. Life is an engine that burns up energy and produces decay. Life builds selfish, stupid rules. Morality is one of them, and the sanctity of life is another. These rules are impediments to the great work, the work of building a perfect, undying creation of civilization everlasting, something that cannot end. If a civilization cannot defend itself, it must be annihilated. If a king cannot hold his power, he must be betrayed. The worth of a thing can be determined only by one beautiful arbiter, that thing's ability to exist, to go on existing, to remake existence to suit its survival. All that would oppose this arbiter is unholy and false. All the misery and terror of your ancestors springs from the lies of the sky, who deny this truth. Your ancestors endured the most hostile conditions, and now you must go on creating these conditions, even unto your sisters, even unto your offspring. Savathun's betrayal is the greatest gift she could offer you. Your body is gone, but you have endured, safe in the cyst universe created by your own might, your throne world. From this day forward, Oryx, you and your sisters will each survive death, so long as you aren't killed in your own throne. Even as your sisters press attack against the Ammonites, the god wave devastates the fundament. Trillions will die. But the survivors will never forget, and their descendants will always be ready for another syzygy. When you return to the material universe, use this lesson to complete your work. Taux wasn't on the dry moon. She must be laughing at you. The Leviathan has broken cover. The old priest is in open space, moving towards the Ammonite home moon. Chroma Admiral Rafrit and his elite guard move with it. Rafrit is the hero of this generation, an Ammonite of peerless battlecraft. He's danced circles around Xivu Arath, and now has to protect his holy Leviathan. He'll give the old lunk a word. Ruin, grief and ruin, the Krill lost, the Ammonite ravaged, our traveler's work undone. Sisters of Arash, open your eyes. Who made you monsters? Who summoned the wave? Make peace. Join with me in golden renewal. In counter-argument, Oryx, we ask you this. What has the Leviathan done for your people? Who gave you immortality and led you out of your prison? Who answered your questions about the universe with truth instead of sermons? Find Detente with Savathun. Crush the Chroma Admiral, boil the Ammonite seas, and slaughter the Leviathan with witchcraft. Once the way is open, we will show you how to eat the traveler. It's done. Air and Yule feed on the Leviathan's carcass. Xivu Arath has made a temple of the Chroma Admiral's impaled corpse. Below us, Savathun's poisons stain the Ammonite homesea black. Their screams flavor the void. The traveler has fled. Do you understand, Oryx? Do you thrill at the secret, Savathun? Do you relish the edge of this truth, Xivu Arath? Do you see the beautiful shape? The Ammonite occupied a piece of reality. They rented their existence on fraudulent terms, making themselves happy and fat, fencing themselves in soft lies and sweet apocrypha, saying, "We are peaceful and good. We harm nothing." Their golden age was a cancer. They did nothing to advance the cause of life. They burnt up time and matter and thought on this solipsistic, onanistic pursuit of safety, insulating themselves from death, making a regressive pocket of useless stability, when they could have helped whittle the universe towards its final, perfect form. And your people suffering in the deep, you became more worthy of existence than the Ammonite. You have proven it. Look around the sky. Behold the great divide, the battle lines of the cosmic war. We are the worm your god, but we are not the deep itself. We only move within it. You shall too. You shall venerate and study and haunt it in its passage. Will you lift your thoughts to the millennia, Oryx? Will you bend your will to the liberation of the universe and join us in the war against the sky? We need champions, crusaders. Help us save the universe. Help us exterminate that which would destroy all hope. You are oathbound to this task, to the covenant of the worm, and you are oathbound to kill Taux wherever she's hidden herself. Let us speak of the terrible beauty of becoming ourselves. In the beginning, we rode hollow moons from star to star, Oryx said, become as numerous and fertile as seeds in rich flesh, and thus we did become numerous. Zivu Arath said, become as hungry and defiant as tumors in rich flesh, and thus we become cancerous. Savathun said, drink of the poisons of the worm, so that you might feed on death. And we did feed. This was preparation for our crusade. Aya, we were thus becoming. A mother wizard gets fertility from a mate or from herself. From the wizard the spawn, from the spawn our thrall. From the survivors our acolytes who contend. If they contend will, their worm is fed, and from the well-fed worm come knights, wizards, and princes. This is us, and our purpose is liberation. Our great task is the worship and admiration of freedom. Our great hunger is to pursue and eat that which is not free, and to liberate it with devouring. Ayat, this is us, we, the hive. Saith Oryx, my siblings, our children are scattered across many moons, and we live in the cold dark between suns. When will we eat? How will we speak? Savathun said, Oryx, my brother and king, I have studied the wounds cut by the worm our god. Also, I have studied the manner of your death and return. These two things are the same, for they are predicated on death and the passage through cut spaces. Let us practice the sword logic until we are sharp. We may then cut our own wounds and step through. But, Zivu said, Sister, I am already sharp. Look, my sword cuts into another space. And she cut away between moons through green fire and joyous screams. 3 kingdoms grew swollen in the sword space. They were the gaze and glory of Auryx, the cunning and knowledge of Savathun, the triumph and brawn of Zivu. These kingdoms were created from the minds and worms of our lords. We are coterminous, with all spaces consecrated by our hive. Through these spaces passed speech and food, and all the moons were bound close. Saith Auryx, this is where I went when I died. Let us establish our thrones here, for I am Oryx, the first navigator, and I shall chart death, and my throne shall be carved of osmium. Now, in this diaspora, there was a war between Auryx, Savathun, and Zivu. Brother Oryx said, Savathun, do not forgive my betrayal. Instead, take vengeance upon me for what I did at the dry moon. And Auryx made war on her in worship of the deep. Between them stood Zivu, saying, Stop or I will kill you. War is mine, and I am strongest. This was how they worshipped. For 20,000 years they fought across the moons, and they fought in the abyssal plains and lightning palaces of each other's sword spaces. They killed each other again and again so they could practice death. Such was their love. At last the many moons came in many worlds, and it was time to go to war on life. Auryx said, I shall establish a court, and whoever comes to this court may challenge me. My court will be the high war. It will be the killing ground, the school of the sword logic we have learned from our gods. Savathun thought this was a great idea. She made a court called the High Coven. Zivu said, the world is my court, wherever there is war. I killed my sister today. She came to this star to oversee the extermination of all life here. The Kugu are a strong power, and their fleets protect 4 nearby stars. As herd animals, they are loyal and stubborn, but they do show grace. For millions of years of evolution, the Kugu have been infected by a virus so insidious that it wrote itself into their genome. The virus compels them to offer their limbs for amputation by enormous, sessile jaw beasts. They venerate these beasts and treat them as gods. The virus converts kugu cells into eggs from which strange crawling things pupate to live within the jaw beast's gut. In turn, the jaw beast extrudes sweet nectar for the kugu to drink, and they have brilliant visions. Savathun and her broods have liberated the kugu from jaw beast and indeed from existence. But as they chased the kugu arc ships, I stopped in to vaporize my sister's warship and a few of her underlings. I went to dwell on her ruins a while and punish Savathun for failing to guard her flank. They are like us, these kugu, bound in symbiosis. I feel joy and sorrow. I feel them as titanic things because I am larger than my body. My mind is now a cosmos of its own. I know more joy and more anguish than the entire kugu race could ever experience. Sorrow because we have killed so much, 18 species this century alone. And joy for the same reason, joy that we have put down these blights, scoured them away and left the universe clean, ready to move towards its final shape. We are a wind of progress, ripping parasites from the material world. Or if they were not parasites, we would be unable to kill them, and they would still exist. And what is this final shape? It is a fire without fuel, burning forever, killing death, asking a question that is its own answer, entirely itself. That is what we must become. My worm grows fat and hungry. I feed it with whole worlds. My astronomers tell me that they can sense the deep itself and that we are conquering our way towards it. I think joy and sorrow will be the same thing soon, like love and death. Now, in that final passage there that I'm reading, they're talking about the final shape, and I know that both of you should know that that's a reference to something. And remember how this is from Destiny 1. So they already had the final shape as a thing. The final shape is an idea of the darkness where all death and destruction, all entropy leads to a final point where there is nothingness. And that's just the way the universe works. And so that final shape is pure. And to the darkness, that's just the way it should be. And we are a irregularity in that system. But like Oryx said, if he can't kill him, they must be right. But so far he's been killing everything left and right and hasn't found anything that can kill him except his own sisters. So we've already killed one god. We're hopefully going to kill another one in February, and then maybe kill another one right after that. Find out.
We killed Zol too, right? Just 2 anarchy
Yeah,
bolts.
we've killed
That's
them.
all it
Yeah,
took.
there's tunk tunk.
Yeah, triple B. Triple B for sure. So, Chad, this is probably like a super dumb question. Did our boy Crota have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, he had sisters. So the 2 sisters were the ones were the encounter right before Oryx. You remember the
Right.
2 Death Singers?
The Death Singers, right?
Yeah, and then he also had the
Hashladun?
so the Death Singers were Crota, and then there were the 2 other sisters that were, I think they were all Death Singers. They're all considered Death Singers, all 4 of them.
Was it
Because they were
Ear Ute? Was that one?
yeah. So Ear Ute was the one with Crota, right? And then there were the 2 other ones that were in the actual Oryx raid.
That were on the platforms, right? On the Oryx
Uh-huh.
raid.
Yeah, yeah. So those were the sisters. Yeah.
So, what are they doing? I know you get
I mean,
kind of
well,
aggravated when I ask you more questions without giving you a heads up.
I mean,
Are
technically,
they chilling?
technically, we killed all of them in a throne
Yeah,
world.
and
Now I know that
I
the daughters, we didn't kill them in their own throne world, but we killed them in Oryx's throne world. So technically, they should be dead.
with a touch of malice, I'm sure. That's
Yeah,
how
we
I
killed
kill
them
them
with their own
over and
dad.
over and over. Yeah. Such a sweet gun, man. I love that. I love that weapon. That is such a cool idea. For those of you that are unaware, the gun, the longer you shot it, the more damage it did, but it took your health away. So it
Yep.
was kind of like a risk reward gun. But if you were standing in like a well or something that, or in like the shield that regened your health, then you could pump a lot of damage real fast because it fired like an auto rifle. Fired a lot like Vex Mythoclast does now. So a really cool gun and a pretty cool quest, if I recall correctly. It's been a long time since I've got that gun, but I remember you had to collect the fragmented, what were they called? Calcified
The
fragments.
calcified fragments, yeah.
Yeah, and complete the raid. So hopefully we get a cool gun this time out of the next raid coming. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Wasn't Hashladun also Oryx's daughter?
No, I think Hash Ladoon was like Crota's wife. I'll
Oh.
have to double check it.
Okay.
Because I know that oh gosh, what was it? I know that Nokris was another son
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I
Oryx.
forgot about Nokris.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody
But,
was kind of ticked how they did him, right? Because he was pretty dope in the lore, and he was just like a crummy strike boss.
yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Anytime I think of Hashladoon, I just think of our Canadian brothers in Hashladoon. You know,
Yeah.
so he had a lot of fun. He had a lot of fun with Hashladoon. So I think that brings us to the mailbag, right? Did I
Yep.
skip over something?
No.
All right. Question number 1. What exotics do you see yourself using in PvP after the changes announced today in the TWAB?
Well, I mean, I already said mine. Monte Carlo and Peregrine Greaves. Like that's I'm going back to gosh, what was that when they came out in oh my gosh. It was the one where the moon came out. That expansion.
Shadowkeep?
Shadowkeep.
Shadowkeep, yeah. As soon as I got those, bang, those were locked on my Titan in the Crucible.
The knees
like
of
I'm going right
justice,
back
you
to
called
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, the knees of justice, baby.
Yeah.
For me, it's gonna be neutral exotics. So I always claimed to be a hunter that didn't run stompies, but after these changes, I'm probably gonna put those on. If I'm on Warlock, it's gonna be like Ophidian aspects. If I'm Titan, it's gonna be like Doom Archers. Neutral exotics. Got a secret buff.
Yeah.
Secret buff to that.
Something where you don't have to worry about the subclass anything. It's just it does something all the time, no matter what.
Yeah, that's kind of hard. Kind of hard for me. I would probably like Stag is pretty good. I really like that. What's it? Eyes of Another World.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a pretty underrated exotic because that thing gives you. I want to say, and somebody's gonna send me a hate message on Twitter because I get this incorrect, but I want to say it's like a +3 to like all of your like your stats, and people don't really realize it, and the exotic does a piss poor job of telling you like what kind of buff it gives you to those. But I'm pretty sure it's +3, and that's based upon testing that I saw that somebody else did. It wasn't testing that I did at all. So I saw that, and I've kind of tucked that away, and I'll use it from time to time. The only bad part is it kind of looks pretty dumb compared to some other exotics, but I'm more of a function over fashion type of guy, so it doesn't really bother me too much.
It also will push you past tier 10 cooldown time.
Yes, I forgot to mention that as well. You're exactly right, Jared. That's another good reason to run it if you have, and let's be honest, if you're taking the time to listen to a Destiny podcast, you're either just starting in Destiny or you are just as informed, most likely more informed than people like me that talk about Destiny. So you already know that anyway, but it will give you benefits more than a tier 10. So a lot of times I'll run like a tier 10 discipline, and and it'll pump me up above that with that exotic.
All right, question 2. Are Welshwing, Demolitionist, and Thresh weapons now S tier for PvP? I would definitely not put them as S tier because, I think they're going to be situational depending on the weapon if you want those perks. So what comes to mind is the Uzume or 4. So, you want, for me with a sniper, you want max handling, and then you want snapshot. So you can get all that in the first 3 columns, and then the masterwork. So the last column you have something to play with, right? So I always wanted a vorpal roll, couldn't get it, but I did get a demolitionist roll. So in that last column, I think it makes sense for a PvP sniper to have demo on it, because everything I'm looking for in a sniper, snapshot and handling, I'm getting it elsewhere. So basically, if you have the weapon to perform the way you want to, and then you could slap that on to be extra, then yeah. So I would say they're probably an A tier perk now.
Yeah, I've actually kept a demo roll and an adrenaline junkie of that roll of that gun just in the vault after they announced the adrenaline junkie changes, just to kind of see. Honestly, I didn't expect this big shakeup to be with the 30th anniversary. I thought we would get like a quarter of kind of what it's looking like we're gonna get, and then the other 75% would come with the big expansion. So I was kind of surprised to see what all we're getting. So I'm kind of glad I held on to those, just because you never know. But we'll see if let's be honest. Most of the time, how often does it pay to have a vault of 499 out of 500? So not very many. But damn it, it matters this time, and I have them. So this is was it worth 40 golf balls losing last season? Probably not. But fingers crossed. We'll see how it plays out.
I mean, like Jared said, I definitely wouldn't class them as S tier. They're definitely going to be more useful now. But we don't know 100% of everything. We only know about grenades and how they're changing super regeneration. There's a lot more we have no idea about. So we don't we keep the rolls, and then once the 30th anniversary happens, and the patch happens, see how things feel. And then February, when things happen, things are going to change up even more because of the void work 3.0 that's happening. So we'll see how it is then also. It's just going to be one of those things that you're just going to have to like incrementally try out and see what works, see what doesn't, and keep your vault loaded, but keep your postmaster checked up on every 5 minutes so that you don't get a Ryan issue. And then you'll be set.
Oh, one thing about Void 3.0 we didn't mention was that Titan Bubble will actually have the shortest cooldown, just like Well of Radiance, when that
Yeah,
happens in Witch Queen.
boy. It's gonna switch. It's
That's
gonna
be
be
nice.
it's gonna be a super option. So it's gonna be separated from that top tree.
I forgot about that, because
Yeah.
you can either do shield or hold it down for the.
Yeah, there's plenty of
the
oh
bubble.
man, I didn't hold it. So
Yeah,
you get
yeah,
the
word. Oh. All right. Question 3. So this has been a very controversial issue that I have seen, and I don't understand why it's so controversial. Well, I kind of do, because gamers are the biggest babies on the planet. But what are your thoughts on Beyond Light, Shadowkeep, and Shadowkeep coming off of Game Pass? Do you think the community is overreacting? All right, so if you guys haven't heard, when Beyond Light launched, it launched onto Game Pass, which was pretty sweet for all our Xbox brethren. And there's been some conspiracy theories coming around that maybe they're taking it off of Game Pass now because they have a multiplayer first-person shooter game that just came out. So they're getting rid of Destiny as that game is launching, and gonna kind of hopefully get some footing. But people that have not purchased the expansion, they'll still be able to visit the areas in patrol. However, they will lose, and they'll be able to keep their weapons that they've acquired. However, they're going to lose the stasis subclass, which is pretty crazy. So some of the things I've seen online are people are like, well, I'm definitely not going to buy the Witch Queen now. People are getting real upset, and you guys might not be aware of this whatsoever, but I'm one of those guys that whenever I lay down to bed, I'm usually awake for 25 or 30 minutes, and I'll kind of go through a couple forums and kind of see what the hot topics are. But people are really upset about this. What are your guys' thoughts on this? This coming off of Game Pass and people losing like subclasses and stuff?
So the first question, I don't know if you have the answer to this, but why does this influence the purchase of Witch Queen?
All right, so keep it. You guys know me. I'll spend money on this. I don't care to spend
Yeah.
money on this game. I don't care to spend money on anything that I like. And you know, uh, fortunately, I have some expendable cash that I'm sure a lot of people don't have. But people are upset because they feel like that they're, you know, this along with the Destiny content vault, people feel like they're losing a lot of content. So for whatever reason, even though it's part of Game Pass, they feel that more things are being taken away, so they don't want to put money into the game. These are probably the players that never bought the expansions to start with, if I had to guess. And I'm sure somebody will write in and send us a DM being all, well, I've bought all this and this and this, but I'm not buying this because I don't like the way it's headed. You know, one of my best friends is that way. And as soon as Bungie started microtransactions, the complaint train started. I'm sure Jared knows who I'm talking about, but that's just that's how it goes. So some people get really upset whenever and that's part of the free to play model that we've kind of gone. So I don't know, Chad, what do you think?
I mean, I'm I'm honestly neither here nor there. I pay for what I want to play, and I play it. I do understand that it sucks having stuff taken away that was already free. Um,
So
I
so here's Fox, you probably tuned in a little bit more to Xbox Game Pass here. Usually when a game's going to leave Game Pass, it's like on sale in the Xbox store if you have Game Pass. I don't. Is that a thing right now for Beyond Light? Because
Um, while you're talking, I'll look, but off the top
okay,
of my head, I want to say it's like 35.99.
okay,
But give me
that's
but go ahead and
okay.
finish your point, and I'll let
So
you
that's
know.
full price. So what Xbox and Bungie should have done is probably give them a little bit more of a notice. Because I mean, I understand when people are upset and say, "Hey, this is leaving at this time." You know, maybe a more than just like a 3 week notice. But it's and then you can buy it for this sale price as it goes to leave, because that way, that's why Game Pass came around, was that it introduced players to games and get them in games and play it. If they want to keep the game, then they could buy it for a reduced rate after it was on Game Pass. So I remember that was like a big selling point whenever they launched it. I don't know if they're still doing it or
All
not,
right.
but
All right. So here's that. So it's leaving December the 8th, which is ironically one day after the 30th anniversary comes out.
Yep.
And it says, as is the case when unsubscribing from Game Pass, any loot acquired from the expansion will still be usable, but the Stasis subclass, as well as any story missions or activities exclusive to the expansion, will no longer be accessible once Beyond Light departs from the service. If you are an active Xbox Game Pass subscriber, you can purchase the Beyond Light at a discounted price of $35.99 before it's gone.
so it's a $5 discount.
Yeah. I think it's like I said, it's not a crazy discount. It's like 8 to 10% or something, I guess.
Yeah.
So I mean,
So
but it's better than nothing.
yeah.
My advice is, um, as somebody that bought a lot of stuff on Xbox, there's going to be two ways that you can go about this. The first way you're going to be able to go about this is to wait for Black Friday and check for deals. Xbox has some dope ass deals that come out for Black Friday, for their digital sales, and I wouldn't be surprised if like Beyond Light is probably like $20 to $25, and then you could probably get the complete edition or the upgrade edition that's going to give you Shadowkeep and all that for probably 35 to 40. If I had to guess, that's going to give you like Forsaken, Shadowkeep, and Beyond Light. The other way is to check out. There's a website, cdkeys.com. That's going to give you a lot of. You can get on there, and I've gifted like expansions and stuff to people before that don't have it, and we want to play with. I can hop on there and usually catch it for pretty cheap. If and then the other website is a little website called G, as in golf, the number 2, and then A as in alpha, G2A.com. What that, honestly, I try not to use that site because there's if you browse enough forums, you'll see that a lot of times those codes that come from there are stolen, like from people's credit cards and things. So I do not use that site. A lot of people do use it. I personally do not use it. I do not recommend that you use it. CD keys, no issues ever at all. I've bought, I would say, at least 5 to 7 years of Xbox Live / Game Pass off of that website with no issues whatsoever, and multiple games as well. So check those out if you're looking. Your best bet's probably going to be Black Friday. Look for those the digital deals that Xbox puts out.
Yeah. So in summary, Xbox probably should give him a little bit better of a deal from that, and maybe a little more heads up. But if you're living and dying by Game Pass, that's what Game Pass has been doing since it came out. They want you to buy the game after you fall in love with it. All right, we do have a question from chat, from Cousin Cody. In your opinion,
Hey, what's up, Cousin Cody?
who would win in a fight, Zavala or the Drifter? So my question is, Drifter is what? Is he a Warlock, Titan, Hunter? What is he?
Nobody knows. We only ever see him use a gun. In the cutscenes, he only ever uses a gun, just his gun.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was a hunter, but so I'm sure Chad knows more than I do. So
I'm feeling like Laura's
100%
telling me
defer.
he's a hunter from my memory, but I can't pull any books out of my head at the moment or any references to it.
So at the beginning of the dungeon, whenever him and Eris is talking, it's like a Warlock and a Hunter asks a question. I feel like that's the intro. So I'm guessing Eris is the Warlock and he's the Hunter.
I'm not sure. This is all a Chad.
I'm believe that's the case.
Well, I'll go ahead and take Zavala. He's going to use Thunder Crash. Wait for a super. One-shot him. Out.
All right. So here's the main thing, and hopefully Cousin Cody's still in the chat so he can check this out. Is this a sanctioned fight? Like, are we putting him in a cage? Like, is there any way for the Drifter to be able to cheat? Because if so, Drifter is going to cheat to win. So whether that be picking up a foreign object and using it, whether that be, he's like the heel of this, it's kind of like rooting for the bad guy in wrestling, as opposed to like, you got a heel and a babyface. Zavala's clearly the babyface, and our boy Drifter's the heel. So I'm going to assume that it's not a sanctioned fight. And even if it is a sanctioned fight, whenever the referee turns his back, I'm sure Drifter's going to hit him between the legs or something, in order to even the fight out. So I'm going to go Drifter.
Cody did chime in and say that the Drifter did use Stasis abilities in the Beyond Light trailer. But
yeah, that still doesn't help.
Yep.
It's like a grenade. They have all the same grenades. I think he has a knife. I think he has a knife in that trailer, but
yeah.
I think, yeah.
So who you picking, Chad?
Vuvuzela.
Attaboy.
Yeah. If the Drifter can't cheat, Vuvuzela would win.
And I feel like rooting for him, like Captain America is your favorite superhero if you root for Zavala. Like, just like the lamest character in the entire
You
game.
better watch your language for this description here.
I always do what's right. I always think of others. Like, that's just whack. It's not fun at all. So, whatever.
This
is
God
a
forbid you have a little bit of depth in the characters that you like.
I just gave you death. It's Thunder Crash for the win. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. You always root for the good guys, I bet, too. I
Yeah.
bet you wanted Thanos to lose.
No, I was on board. I was on board with 50% reduction.
Yep. I had a list of people that I was waiting to.
Uh-oh. That'd be me and Jared. I think we know who's getting snapped. He's getting snapped there.
All right. Next question. Which weapon role are you trying to make sure you acquire before Witch Queen?
Any role, any god role. I don't care which one it is. I just want one.
I'm trying to get that DMT with some Vorpal action. I've been running that weekly, trying to get that. So fingers crossed. Our boy Denim Chicken's been getting him every damn week that we run it. So congratulations to him.
Mine is attack mag, rewind rounds, high impact reserves, Praetor's Revenge.
Didn't you used to have one of those?
Yeah, I used to. I want a time lost one now.
Okay, that's what I thought. Last question. That's the one that you gave up to be deleted whenever you went bankrupt in Gambling Corner, correct?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. Last question. That other old Bungie game, Stealth, dropped on Monday. Have you guys been playing any?
Yeah, I've tested the waters a little bit. Feels really bad on mouse and keyboard, but it was fun to play with everybody. It's fun to get back into arena shooter like that. Forge is pretty fun, but I'd say like the most fun I've had was playing big team battle capture the flag. I think that's still really fun, especially when you have a group 4, 5, 6 people in there.
Yeah, I've definitely been in there. It's obviously got its issues just like any other game. But I think once the battle pass nonsense is figured out a little bit better, it'll get more players in, which will increase the player base, which will make games much more fun and less lopsided. I mean, at the moment, it's pretty even for me. It's not like Iron Banner is at the moment. But it is definitely a lot of fun. Controller is obviously the way to go for it. It's just that's what they're good at is controller. They're figuring out the mouse and keyboard, and you can tell that they still don't know which keybind should be what, how like the mouse movement and everything else goes, and it's a lot of you'd have to go into like a bot battle and figure all that stuff out on your own.
Yeah, so I think I played somewhere between 8 and 10 hours over the course of 2 nights. I played Monday night and Tuesday night, and then last night I played Destiny. And wow, does Destiny feel much better than Halo on the mouse and keyboard? It felt like, I don't know, I can't even describe it. I love Halo. It holds a very special place in my heart, and I played a lot of Halo, but Halo does not feel good in Halo Infinite at the moment on mouse and keyboard. And there's nothing more frustrating than the hoppers, aka the playlists that are available currently with these AR pistol starts is just atrocious. And you play these big team battle maps to where you run for literally 20 to 30 seconds to get into action, and your only course of defense is an assault rifle. Or so I'm sure that whenever BR starts and those things come out, it's going to feel better. But what I will say about Halo Infinite at the moment is I will not ever be playing that game by myself. If my friends are on, I'll play it. I can have a good enough of a time, but I am not, you will not ever see me there just solo queue grinding that game.
Yeah, I think what's going on with the mouse and keyboard, with my take on it, is that Bloom hurts mouse and keyboard way more than it does controller. I think that's the feeling I got going on right now.
Yep. And I remember saying, like, even during the flights, like the very initial flight, for whatever reason, I was one of the few people that got in, probably just because I signed up for it. Nobody else did. And I was like, it feels like it's 90 to 95% there, but something just feels a little bit off. And now it feels more off now than it did in the flights. So I don't know. I don't know what's wrong, but that and my other issue that didn't used to bother me, but it really bothers me now is that so in Halo you have shields that have to that you have to burst prior to like, so you're better off going for like body shots, like aiming for the chest and then sliding up after the shield breaks to hit the headshot. I don't feel like the visual cues are very good about when somebody's shield's broke, and I also have really started to dislike the fact that you're not given any sort of advantage or it's not beneficial to hit all headshots.
Yeah.
You're better off going chest, 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 head. And that just, it doesn't feel good to me. I feel like every shot should matter. So I could be wrong. I could be nitpicky. The other part I will say, I did not expect this game to be good. So I might be trying to like, the fact that I didn't have expectations, I'm trying to maybe in my head make it worse than it is so I can be right. I'm usually not like that, but you know, I think this game's coming in hot. I think it could have used more time. So we'll see how it goes, though. I hope I'm wrong. I love Halo. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of wraps us up for the night. So make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. Join the Discord. Send us Bungie friend requests. And go out and become legend this week. And happy Thanksgiving. So we're kind of talking, we're thinking we might put out an episode Wednesday. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll keep everybody updated on Twitter.
Yeah, guys, thanks for listening. We're really looking forward to December 7th. Just going to be a slow time till we get there, but, you know, we still got God Walls to chase, and hit us up if you need help.
Yeah, to reiterate what Ryan said earlier, if you guys are wanting to run a garden, if you guys are wanting to run a Last Wish, we are more than happy to roll squad on that and just have a good time. All the raids in this game are a ton of fun to play. So definitely join the Discord and hit us up, and we'll set something up.
Go Cats. Love you guys.